Hello, Nancy Tedeschi. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Lisa Bradshaw. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. There are some people I have on more than once, and you're one of them because the people have many things to share. I like to invite them back. So let's first start off with the exciting news and then work backward.
Okay. So I recently sold Pickleball Bella. I did retain 20% interest in the company, but it's kind of a passive interest. I don't really have to work anymore. And it's something I've been working on for about a year now. But as you know, I have retired once before, so God only knows what I'll do now.
Let's catch people up then. Pickleball Bella is the first ever in the world pickleball clothing line. And you say you've been working on it for about a year, but you've been working on the deal to sell it for about a year. But how long have you been actually been working on the clothing line from the first concept to now?
5 years.
Yes. Okay. And before that, you owned a company called, you created a product called SnapIt Screw, the eyeglass repair screw that snaps off. Genius. And you licensed that deal quite a while ago, and you said, I'm done, I'm retired.
And I went down to Daytona. I went down to Daytona and I started playing pickleball. And I would look around every day because I had never played a sport before, but I certainly knew what a tennis player looked like. And I just looked around and said, there's nobody that has pickleball clothes on. And then I started doing some research and nobody made pickleball clothing. But it was also the beginning phase of pickleball. Everybody knows how far out it has advanced in the last 5 years. I mean, when I started, there were like 1.8 million players in this country. Now, 5 years later, there's 40 million. And that's quite the growth. So I guess I like to say that I was blessed to have the vision, but it's just the way that my mind works as an entrepreneur. When I see an opportunity, I come out and do something.
Yes. Well, you came to town. You and I are friends. We became friends because I think you read my book, Big Shoes, and then we had lunch together and you were on my radio show a long, long time ago. And I was really inspired by your work and your work ethic for sure. And when you came to town to visit, all of us girls, some of your friends got together and you brought fabric samples. And you said, here, I'm going to start this pickleball clothing line. And you're right. At the time, we're like, oh, cool. You know, but nobody really was paying much attention to pickleball then. But you did have the foresight. And that's one of the things that I think is so important about entrepreneurship or, really seeing something. There's one thing to see something before other people see it. There's the other thing to do something about it. So what about you and your makeup allows you or inspires you or propels you to do something with the ideas you have? I mean, I know that you've had some other ideas that you've given to college students, entrepreneur groups to bring to market if they decide to. But for the most part, when you have a big idea, you see it through.
Yeah, I get bored. I try to tell people as an entrepreneur, I mean, my mind does not, travel along the same course of somebody, the average everyday person being an entrepreneur. I do get bored easily. And so the funnest part for me is actually the idea. The rest of it, I would give away in a heartbeat. But in order to get the payoff at the end, you just can't give it away. You have to do the hard work to be able to get to where I've gotten this time.
And a lot of times in your work, and I know this because you and I have talked about my work, which is quite different from yours, just in terms of, I shouldn't say never, but in many, many years since my pillow business that was on the Friend Show, I haven't created a product in a long time, more of a brand, a personal brand, but not a product. And so when you came upon this idea for Pickleball Bella, you'd already done the grind of SnapIt Screw and had patents all over the world and really had to work hard and spend a lot of money making that a success. So when you set out to start Pickleball Bella, you kind of already knew what you were up against because you'd already had a product-based business, but instead of patents or design patents or anything like that for your clothing line, which wouldn't be the route you wanted to go, you you really approached that first to market. And like you're saying, people weren't thinking about pickleball clothing yet. So let's take a quick break and then let's talk about first to market. And let's talk about the start of your business and the hurdles that you faced unexpectedly when you lost your partner partway through. So let's take a break. We're talking with Nancy Tedsechi. She is the owner, well, former owner of
Part owner?
No, owner. Yes, there you go. Pickleball Bella, the clothing line, the first ever in the world for pickleball clothes. We'll be back in just a moment. Okay, we're back talking with you, Nancy Tedsechi. We've caught the audience up. You've been on the show before. I encourage anyone who's watching to go back and watch the episode that you were on most recently about patents, the process of getting something patented, something, having a licensing deal, all of those. We talked in great detail. And now we're talking about first to market because you were first to market with your pickleball clothing line, Pickleball Bella, and you have recently sold it and you are retired for now. And let's talk about first to market and how much more appealing that must have been for you after going through the entire process of the patent route to the traditional, if you want to call it traditional, licensing deal. This is very different.
Yeah, and it was much more fun.
This time.
And then the second time, I mean, I had put all the pressure on myself with the screw. So I kind of was retired and didn't put a lot of pressure on myself in this venture. But when I originally started the clothing line, it was kind of like, okay, I want to travel the country. I want to play pickleball. How can I do it and write off all my expenses? Right. And so I said, hey, I'm just going to start this pickleball clothing line. And at the time when I did that, it was only meant to be like a part-time fun kind of job and go around and meet people and play pickleball. And well, come to find out, I had originally started with 5 skirts and I had a partner named Kim Bowles, and she's an artist and a very good artist. And her and I said, okay, we're going to do this. And we did the first 5 designs. And then all of a sudden it just blew up. It was like very unexpected. And all of a sudden I'm back in the grind again, day to day, 12 hours a day. And I did have a partner.
Your own orders.
Right.
Your own orders.
Everything.
Not all the things. Yeah.
Taking them to the post office, packaging them up, printing the labels, doing the accounting. And Kim was instrumental in helping me with the artwork. And we had to do tech packs and all the stuff we had never done before. And then, unfortunately, Kim's 28-year-old daughter unexpectedly died. So she sent me this resignation letter that just crushed me and broke my heart for her. And so all of a sudden now I'm got this business and now I'm alone and nobody to go off and bounce off things with and stuff. And I'm like, oh no, I'm way back to SnapIt. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I actually, just made it happen again because that's what I do. But it is very important that I was the first out there because people pay for advertising all the time to get on the first page of Google. I don't have to pay for anything. You put in pickleball clothes and there I was everywhere. I mean, I had Dick's Sporting Goods calling me. With SnapIt, I was begging people to take it.
Right.
So it was a set to totally different trajectory for me to be situated in a place where, hey, this isn't as hard as SnapIt, because I was the only one.
Well, and I think too, when you build your business around a passion like you had for pickleball, like you said, you discovered that people weren't wearing pickleball clothing because you were playing pickleball every day. And not just like picking up a game here and there. You play every day, several hours a day. And that's when you're not even on the road at a tournament with your pop-up selling pickleball clothing plus playing in tournaments or playing in different gatherings that you attend throughout the country. So when you have a passion for what you do, they always say figure out what you love and how to get paid for it and still love it. And so was there ever a point when you're like, forget it, I don't want to do this? Or was it always something that you just knew was going to work and you just had to put in the work and you were willing to do it? Because at least this time you're having fun,
Yes. I would say that I always say that I hated the screw, but the screw made such a good living for me and taught me so many lessons that it enabled me to do this business where I am passionate about it and having fun. And I just came back from a 12-day trip to St. George, Utah. And, you know, all the women on the court, not all, but a lot of the women are walking around playing in this tournament in my clothes. And it's like, wow, look what, you know, it's so crazy, you know? And yeah, it's way more fun when you love what you're doing. I mean, I did not love the screw, but you know, it's almost, I feel guilty saying that because of what it's given me in my life. But I love the screw in the sense of it really did help me as an entrepreneur, make me who I am.
Yeah. And the thing too that I wanted to mention, you know, one of the things that makes your pickleball clothing line stand out is it's not just the skirt and the place to put the ball and the place to, you know, even to your cell phone and that sort of thing, because that could be for tennis too. But it is that you're artist, and what you continued since you unfortunately lost your partner in business is the artistry is about pickleball. So the clothing is themed to pickleball. And so you start with the skirts and then you add some shirts and then some bags and all these things that come along with having a whole line. And that's the vision you had, right? For them to be recognizably pickleball clothes.
Yes. Everything is pickleball themed. They can see it at pickleballbella.com. But everything that we sell has pickleballs in some way or fashion. And the business was named after my dog, Bella, who's a seizure alert dog. So she's on all the tags. And so it's been really quite the journey about people getting to know the brand and getting to know, I mean, with the screw, I had a brand, but it was a screw. This is a real brand, right? This is like a whole company. We have hats and bags and skirts and tops and, you know, there's so much to our line. And it just keeps on building and building. And that the people who have come in as the new partners are one of the guys. He is the guy behind Corksicle, and he built that brand from nothing to 110 million in 8 years.
And what is his name?
His name is Blake Thomas. You can find him on LinkedIn. And he, you know, he has my vision, which, you know, there were other people that were interested in that came in, and I might have been able to upfront make a little bit more money. But this guy is the real entrepreneur deal that, I mean, I'm learning from him. And it's the first time where I've had a leader for me to teach me things that I don't know. I've always been the leader, and I'm quite enjoying it. I'm quite, you know, like my boyfriend will say something like, they made a mistake on something or whatever. And I said, something with job.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to, like, I have the perfect situation for what I want in my life right now, which is doing the tournaments, doing some sales, and not having to do any of the back end of the business. That's never been the case with me since the day I became an entrepreneur when I owned a title insurance company. I never got to go home and forget about what was left behind. And now I do. And it's, I mean, when you work hard, you're first to market, and you get a brand and you get a name for yourself, it's quite fun to be able to live the dream now, and all that is out of my hands, and it's still growing.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break, and I want to talk about this deal and how, you know, just the process that you went through, because you and I communicate pretty regularly, and you were saying, hey, I think I got a deal, and then the deal fell through, and hey, we think we have a deal, and the deal fell through, and you were very particular about how this deal was going to look for you. And you are in a unique position in that, you know, you've already retired once. You already knew you could make it on the deal you made with the SnapIt Screw. You didn't really have to sell. You didn't really have to do it the way you did it. But by all means, let's make some money for your hard work. And so let's talk about that when we come back. We'll be back in just a moment. So we are wrapping up with you, Nancy Tedsechi, co-owner now of Pickleball Bella, the clothing line that started it all in pickleball. And let's also talk about, I want to say, you mentioned that you started with 5 skirts. And I've seen you share products over time, send me pictures of things you're creating, and then you added some shirts and some 3/4 zip up stuff and all those kinds of things, and then the bags, and then the latest bags that you just showed me. I don't even have to play pickleball to want those bags, and they're just very stylish and trendy. And so what do you say to the people who have all these ideas? And I'm sure you had a vision for all of that, but you have to start somewhere. And for you, the most recognizable part of the apparel was the skirts and making sure that the artwork spoke specifically to pickleball. So you start with 5. I imagine you had ideas for many more things. How do you explain that trajectory of how do you decide that it's time to expand? How do you decide that, okay, this is going well, I can add some other product line to this and see what happens?
Well, I got very lucky. When I first did those 5 skirts, the U.S. Open pickleball tournament was being played in Naples. I didn't have a booth there, and I went there because I had gone right to the port of Miami because my clothes had come in, and picked them up on my way to that tournament. And we were sitting outside, and I said, let's just try and sell them. And we got yelled at because you're not allowed to sell if you're not a vendor. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I went up to a booth that was a vendor, and I said to the guy, look you want to make some extra money? And he looked at me like I was crazy. He goes, what do you got? So I showed him the 5 skirts, and he goes, okay, hang 20 of them up. And so I hung 20 of them up, and they sold it in 10 minutes. 1 minute. So I knew that I was on to something. And that's
the best place to test the market, right?
Right. And
talk about market research.
Yeah. And my skirts paid for his whole booth for that tournament.
His commission.
His vendor fee. It was like $5,000.
But the commission you paid him paid.
Yeah, I actually ended up selling it to him for wholesale.
Okay.
And then he sold it for retail. And that money got him his booth for free. And that's when I knew that I was on to something. And then I started thinking, okay, I would start looking at like tennis outfit, Lucky in Love, or one of the Lululemons or somebody like that. And I'd like, okay, what do they do? How do they put their clothes together? I looked at the competition and I'm like, okay. And then just thinking of cute, clever ways to tie in the skirts to the hats. Like our hats aren't the full skirt, but, we put a little bit of the print on the side or something like that to tie it in or underneath the brim. And then that started to pick up. And I'm like, okay, what's next? And then we just kept going and going. And then we got to the point where, okay, let's start to pick out of the skirt, the Pantone color, pick one color out of it and match it with the top. So it's the exact same match, right? So you got the exact pink on top. And then we started doing it where we did a solid skirt and put the print underneath it. So when they bent over, you could see a little peekaboo. And then the top would be the print. So it was an evolution but research, lots of research. And believe me, not everything was a home run. We've had some prints that didn't do well. Then you just put them on sale and you get rid of them and go to the next one. Right, exactly. Don't get held up because you made a decision or you like something that the rest of the people didn't like. Just get rid of it and go to the next one.
Wear it yourself and then keep going.
Exactly. Wear a lot of them.
Yeah. Okay. And I have some too. So then let's talk about this deal, because a lot of people think that you want the first deal that comes along. Maybe you don't. Then you regret not taking that deal. What had to happen for you to make it worth selling this little gold mine you created?
So I knew what I wanted. I knew the way I wanted the company to move forward. I knew that what I wanted to keep. And I had a couple of different options, but I waited until I got exactly what I wanted. And I did. I got exactly what I wanted. And I got an awesome partner who is, to me, he's like the best entrepreneur ever, because if I have an issue, he's so good. Like I just did that tournament out in St. George. And I was coming back on the plane and he texted me and here's what he said. Just want to say thank you for doing the tournament in St. George. And I texted him back and I said, I just want to thank you for thanking me for doing the tournament in St. George, because that's the kind of guy that he is. It's all positive. It's all like, if he'll say, if we make a mistake, it's a mistake. We learn from it, move forward. Nothing that you can do with this guy is not a learning process. And so I knew it was a fit.
Well, and the other thing too, when you talk about the St. George tournament, now you're at huge tournaments and then not so huge tournaments, and this was a big one. And he understands the value of you having a face to this clothing line. And there's online sales and there's, big store sales. I'm sure he's got great big plans. He's done this before. But letting you have the opportunity to go out there, as passionate as you are about it, you can't pay for that kind of salesperson,
No. And I love it. So it's such a perfect, partnership, because you're right. He does appreciate me being the face of the brand. But I love being the face of the brand. So it just was the right fit, and I had one deal fall apart that I thought I was going to close on. And when it didn't happen, all my friends and my mom and everybody was like, aren't you upset? Aren't you upset? And I'm like, no, I'm not upset. It wasn't meant to be. And it wasn't but 2 months later that I met this guy. And it was just, I met this guy from the deal that fell through.
Yeah.
So it was just
that's the thing. You can't be afraid of a no. You can't be afraid of a no. I think it's one of the most debilitating things when people think that, they let fear stop them. You say that, it reminds me of my first book getting published. I got so many rejections, but one of the rejection letters to my agent was referring us to another publisher, and that's the publisher that ended up publishing my first book. So I get the no. I'm okay with the no.
I always say that no is only no for the moment.
It is. And I can't stand the idea of not throwing something out there and seeing what can happen from it. I'm like you. I need to have something going that's outside of what I do every day, which I also love. But I have a lot of respect for your achievements, and I appreciate you coming here and sharing them with us. And congratulations.
Thank you.
And just so proud of you. And it couldn't happen to a more hardworking, better person and businesswoman. So thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Lisa Bradshaw.
See you soon, I hope.
Okay.